What's up? What's going on? What it do with the business is? It's your boy Skinny Shug, Vent Podcast. And you might find that this video will come a little bit late because of course the trial was very expansive, and I'm referring to the trial of AR Abdul Ibrahim West of North Philly or whatever. And as many of you are very well aware, his trial is in day 6 now. I was able to attend. Well, about time you view this video, his trial will have been beginning day 6. Of course, this is after the fact. I'm home now. I was able to attend and show my support for the 4 brothers on trial in day 5. And in this video, we won't be getting too deep. As you can see, I got the trial notes and the complaints and different briefs that have been filed by other unnamed co-conspirators and named co-conspirators in this indictment alike. It was just way too expansive to get into in this one video. For this one video, people have been asking for me to update them about what's going on as far as their case is concerned. Day 5. As we all know, the day before, which is yesterday, Dark Low was taken into custody at his home or whatever like that. One of the named co-conspirators in this indictment, Dontes Stewart, mouse that he is, nicknamed Taz. Taz took the stand on day 4, and prior to taking the stand, he informed the judge that he wasn't comfortable testifying with Dark Low in the courtroom, so the judge had U.S. Marshals come escort Dark Low out the courtroom, informed him that he could come back after Taz was finished testifying. But Dark Low went home, and when he arrived home, he was met at his house by U.S. Marshals who took him into custody, and they're alleging that they have a letter in their custody from Dark Low to Taz while Taz is in custody. The contents of this letter, we don't know. Who's to say if the letter even exists, because up to this point the feds have played plenty of games as far as evidence is concerned, tampering with evidence and so forth and such on. But yeah, so free Dark Low. Dark Low was taken into custody and charged with witness intimidation. But as far as day 5 of the trial is concerned, then I was expecting to see 5 individuals on trial, but I came to the information that Dennis Harmon, right, he took a plea deal early on, and I'm going to refer to my notes, and occasionally you'll see me refer to my super chat, and anybody in the super chat or the cash app, I might shout you out at a later time or a later date, whatever the case may be. But I really want to get to this information and kind of break it down and get out of here, because I'm under the weather, which is why I wasn't able to attend trial from day 1. But I am going to make it a point to try to get the trial from this point forward. And excuse the noise in the background. I am at home. It's trash day or whatever the case. But yeah, so it wasn't 5 individuals on trial at this time. Dennis Harmon took a plea deal early last week, which is why he's not mentioned in the indictment past the superseding indictment. So it was only 4 defendants, not 5, to be clear. And I'm referring to my notes. At this time, it's only AR Ab, Jamil Hickson, who you may know as Meliano, Jamal Blanding, who you know as Cass, and Hines Gadsden, who was No Breaks Brass, or who the indictment is alleging to be Meliano, Cass, and No Breaks Brass. So yesterday was all about surveillance and the introduction of several social media posts, and finishing testimony of some federal agents or whatever like that. And as I understand it, tomorrow they have 2 more federal agents and intending to testify for the prosecution. But just be very aware, because although it was something that I conceived in my mind, yesterday I was made well aware for a fact that the FBI does have in place a social media task force. We heard some testimony from a social media task force uh, special agent, yesterday as to the relevancy of some social media posts from AR-AB, No Breaks Bras, some from Eliano, some from Cass. And it is very real concerning federal agents monitoring and surveilling your social media posts. So you just have to be very, very careful about what you post on social media and uh, what you let be known to the world. So again, as we said, the day before, Dark Low was removed from the courtroom by U.S. Marshals before Dante Stewart, who was tasked, was scheduled to testify. And so today it was all about 3 agents who testified. The first agent, he testified very briefly about surveillance that he gleaned from a traffic light. He said that he was positioned in a vehicle at a traffic light and surveilled the comings and goings of several OBH members and associates from an address, and he was able to detail and record for the record any vehicles that he alleged to be owned or operated by AR-AB, and then he kind of like drifted off. But I'm asked to agent number two, who was a special agent. He testified as to some surveillance that he got from an apartment, an 8th floor apartment that the feds moved into, and the feds have a list of every residential and commercial property connected to OBH in any manner, or any of the named conspirators in this indictment in any manner. And I'm going to post the paperwork. As I said, it's very lengthy. It's going to take some time to post the whole indictment and any pertaining paperwork to it. But I will post it for those who want to view it, a link to it if you want to check that out and corroborate anything that we're saying here. But they moved into an 8th floor apartment condominium. OBH is said to have owned, leased, or operated the 7th floor apartment directly beneath the one that the feds moved into. And this agent testified that the feds moved into this 8th floor apartment to conduct surveillance on any active sales of narcotics that took place at this apartment on the 7th floor. And mainly the surveillance that was testified to yesterday was mainly attached to Richard Chase Hoover, who was also named in this indictment. And he took a plea deal early last week as well, rather than trying his hand at trial. But shout out to Nixon, who just checked into my super chat. Appreciate the donation. But the evidence at this point, like, very circumstantial, very sketchy. Right? At worst, sketchy. At best, circumstantial. Right? In regards to proving the claims of conspiracy and trying to tie together different elements of crime between individuals whom are loosely connected in and of themselves. And the only audio that was provided in court as to the surveillance of this apartment was of Eric Blanding and Dante Stewart making controlled sales of narcotics. Now, Eric Blanding is not even mentioned at any point in this indictment, in this particular indictment, nor is he in federal custody for this particular I don't know if he's in custody. None of my business. But Eric Blanding is not a part of this indictment, nor is he mentioned in this indictment. And the only connection that Eric Blanding has to this particular indictment is that he is the cousin of Jamal Blanding, a.k.a. Cass. So the feds did provide audio of Eric Blanding and Dante Stewart making controlled sales in the 7th floor condominium apartment. And agent number 3 came up to the stand and he testified as to info that he alleged he was able to glean from one of 61 cell phones. 61 cell phones that were seized during this indictment. And he alleged that he was able to ascertain ties to each individual by their nicknames due to audio that he was able to glean from surveillance of these cell phones, wiretaps, triggerfish, Title IIIs, and things of that nature. So he was able to ascertain nicknames, and then he said he alleged that he was able to tie these nicknames to particular individuals and thereby connect them in a conspiracy. Another sketchy connection by way of telephone records. He also testified as to records of air travel. They brought forth records custodians from American Airlines, Delta, Southwest, every imaginable airline, and they testified as to travel between the members of OBH and or associates from Philadelphia to California, where the federal government is alleging that OBH met and maintained the supply of drugs, and they met with their supplier in California and conspired to transport those narcotics back from California to Philadelphia. Just looking at my notes for a second. Just give me a second. He also presented a social media snapshot of AR Ab standing next to a stove, and we come to know that this particular stove is in a studio which AR Ab records in. It was not in a residential house, which was known to be tied to drugs or things of that nature. And the photo was captioned, "I made a lot of money off this stove." And so this federal agent testified as to the relevancy of this photo, and proving that AR Ab was somehow tied to the drug game or distributing kilograms of coke, or whatever the case may be. So it's really a case of, this is becoming a case of entertainment meets reality. You dig what I'm saying? Which is a very bad thing for all parties concerned, because we're not able to discern the line between entertainment and what's real. You dig what I'm saying? And this is why it's dangerous. It's a dangerous time to be a rapper. A rapper who raps trap rap or things of that nature, or whose content is substantive concerning drug dealings of their past or whatever the case may be, because the lines between entertainment and reality are becoming to be blurred in this case particularly. And it's not a bad look for AR Ab at this point. But again, the evidence thus far, and we know the feds have a 98% conviction rate, but keeping in mind that that conviction rate is something that's detailed at the beginning, is something that it pertains to mostly plea deals and bargainings and cooperation agreements, and only partially pertaining to trial ratio. So there is a slim chance that this thing could be beat, and it's just a very seldomly done. Most deals at this stage, or most cases at this stage, are pled, or some level of cooperation is maintained between the feds and those who are named in these indictments. But the evidence is sketchy and it's circumstantial and it's very stringy. A good defense lawyer, and they do have good defense lawyers on tab. These four individuals who I mentioned were on trial at this point do have good defense attorneys on tab, and good defense attorneys might be able to shred through some of the evidence, as we already seen in other people tied to this indictment. Their lawyers were able to disconnect, because conspiracy trials are all about connecting different individuals who may or may not be engaged in criminal conduct, and trying to tie all those acts of criminal conduct together by circumstantial evidence. And anytime that a lawyer can break a link between two individuals or several individuals who are alleged to have conspired to commit a criminal act, it's always good for the home team. So we still got we still sending prayers up, we still got our hopes up, we still making the dua for Ab, for Mill, for Brass, and for damn, my mind is, I'm dealing with a lot of things at once, plus I'm still under the weather, but for these four individuals on trial. So this agent also testified that he saw AR Ab and Cass on numerous occasions leaving a hotel with bags, which the government is alleging is proof of drug deals being made at this hotel or in this hotel or around this hotel. Again, the exact number of controlled cells or uncontrolled cells the government is alleging to be made is unknown, because again, this surveillance of this hotel took place from the exterior of the hotel. They didn't have access to the interior of the hotel or the hotel room where these deals allegedly took place, or again, that 7th floor condominium apartment. They didn't have access to the inside of the apartment. There were no bugs placed in the apartment, so there's no video or audio proof of physical drug deals going down, like I said, with the exception of Eric Blanding and Dante Stewart. So the evidence is just very circumstantial. The government is just alleging that because AR Ab and Cass left the hotel with these bags, that allegedly these bags contain drugs and or drug proceeds from sales that took place at this hotel. So again, the evidence is very sketchy, as it has been presented by the prosecution so far, and I maintain hope. I maintain faith that at this point, there's still a very good chance that the defense can shred through some of the evidence that's presented. As for the testimony of Taz, we'll get to that another time. I'm going to upload some more videos concerning the trial, day 6. I will be attending the trial as well. I'll keep you informed as to the goings-on. There are scheduled tomorrow 2 more federal agents to testify. They estimated that this trial might take between 6 to 8 days. Again, we are going on to day 6, so the verdict is right around the corner. It won't be long before the feds seek to wrap and conclude this trial. At one point during the trial, A.R. Ab turned around, looked in the audience, and was kind of like disgusted at the number of supporters in the audience and in the galleys or whatever the case may be. So I just encourage anybody who has a second of free time, it doesn't matter whether you catch the beginning, the end, the middle, or the whole thing, that if you have any free time, that you come on down to 6th and Market, 79 6th Street, and come down to the federal courthouse and support these brothers. Again, the courtroom is 6A, and you must have identification. The feds are taking names and checking identification at the door. So it's a whole thing going on right now. So anybody that gets a second of free time, come on down, support, because it's really not about your connection to A.R. Ab or Jamil Hickson or Jamal Blanding or anyone else in this case, or Hines Gasson, No Breaks Bras. It's really not about your connection to these specific individuals. It's about the system and the need for criminal justice reform. And we see the feds pulling out all stops in this instance to try to make this conviction stick, or to try to ascertain this conviction in this particular case. And it's just mind-boggling the amount of circumspect and circumstantial evidence being allowed to be presented to a jury at this time. And the jury, again, is not predominantly black. I believe there are 4 jurors who are of African-American persuasion to a degree or completely, or whatever the case may be. And then I believe there's an Indian guy, an East Indian woman, and a Chinese woman, and the rest are predominantly white. So it's not a thing about OBH and A.R. Ab specifically. I mean, generally, it's specifically about them, but generally speaking, it's just about criminal justice reform and the need to see a system that has systematically railroaded us for thousands of years prior to slavery. It's just about breaking the system and rebuilding a system that's just for us. You dig what I'm saying? So, again, this is Skinny Shug. Catch me on Instagram at Skinny Shug, skinny.shug, Twitter, Skinny_Shug, Facebook, Skinny Shug, on all social media platforms. We're going to, again, there are going to be more videos uploaded. The paperwork, again, I'm going to upload that as soon as I get a chance to. It's very detailed. It's very lengthy, so give me some time on that. And to everybody who donated in the Super Chat and the Cash App, I appreciate that. It's the Vent Podcast, and I'm out.